Imagine that you are now the CEO of a major food and beverage portfolio. If this dream came true and you had the opportunity to bring back one of your favorite childhood items that is now discontinued, which one would you bring back? Honestly, if we were able to get a visit from the ghost of Christmas past, Christmas just happened a few days ago, if he or she, because in movies, for whatever reason, it's always a he, but I'm going to assume maybe it could be also a she. So if he or she did give me a visit and we were able to transport back and re-examine my childhood eating patterns and habits and just the things that I enjoyed eating because I was extremely picky, you guys would obviously understand why I am in love with food and beverage consumer packaged goods. But it's easy to notice these things if we look through kind of the rearview mirror, or what they say, hindsight is 2020, correct? And that is kind of the inspiration for this video. We have 2020 that's coming up in just a few short days. And also, me being nostalgic and there being kind of a milestone date around 2020, I decided that it would be cool for me to do a little bit different of a video for you guys. And not only just because the video background looks different, I had just moved last week, still setting up my office. So this is going to all change the way that it's going to look. I am talking into my podcast mic because I have a ton of echo in my new office because it's just hard surfaces at this point because I haven't gotten around to decorating it all. So we're going to be changing up all of this here soon, but just bear with me for the next couple of videos because they are going to look the same way. But if we get back to this 2020 idea and get a little nostalgic, look a little bit back towards some memories, childhood memories, I started to think about decades past, and specifically around decades in which I actually understood my consumer habits. So I was born in 1985, so we're talking about here 90s, 2000s, and then 2010s, I kind of was already set in my ways as an adult. But so I'm going to be looking specifically around the 90s and the 2000s, and we're talking here about discontinued food and beverage consumer packaged goods. And these are kind of my favorites, the ones that I wish they would bring back. If I was the CEO of some of these companies that have the rights to these dormant brands or dormant products, I would be pushing these things to market as quick as possible. But while you guys are listening to this list of 10, and if I counted correctly, I did properly make 5 food and 5 beverage examples, or my favorites that I wanted to make sure that I reminisced a little bit for you guys on. If you hear any of the ones that you guys also love, I'd love to hear down in the comments below that you guys also enjoy those. And if there are ones that I totally forgot about, or maybe some from decades past, or the current decade from some of my younger watchers or listeners, I would love to hear about those as well, and maybe a little bit about why you actually do love those products. So let's take a walk down memory lane, and you guys can get to hear a little bit of story time about why maybe I love some of these products. But I do know that some of these maybe have some wishy-washy type of discontinuation dates, so please don't at me if I incorrectly made note to one that might still be around in some weird capacity or something. I'll bring up some of those points there. And also, these are not in any particular order of importance. They aren't listed in the top to bottom or bottom to top in terms of my most favoritist food and beverage discontinued items. But let's kick this off with the first one that is on my list, and I'm going to guess it's on most lists of people that have similar age range to me, and this is Dunkaroos. So for those that maybe don't know anything about Dunkaroos, it was a product that was owned by Betty Crocker. I think it came out somewhere around 1990, but essentially it was snack-sized cookies with a little kind of snack portion of icing. And essentially, as the name kind of alludes to, if you're not aware of Dunkaroos, you took the cookie and you dunked it in the icing, and it was delicious. It was great. I mean, honestly, it is probably the most requested type of product, discontinued product that I've seen on the internet. There are a ton of retail specific like bakeries that have kind of tried to come out and do some private label type of work with Dunkaroo flavors because so much nostalgia is around Dunkaroos. I think Walmart specifically has really done a pretty good job at trying to figure that out. But my favorite far and away was anything that you could get from a flavor one, and they switched around over the years with the rainbow sprinkle icing. That one's my favorite. If you guys liked other ones, we can't be friends. But the second one I want to talk about is, now I'm going to shift to a beverage here, and this is going to be a specific flavor of High C, and this is Ecto Cooler. So Ecto Cooler was a citrus, I think an orange tangerine flavored drink, and it had Slimer, which was from the Ghostbusters. So this was kind of like a Ghostbusters inspired flavor. Ghostbusters were extremely popular back in the 90s. I loved the Ghostbusters. I had the Ghostbusters toys. I had all kinds of things back in the early 90s when I was a kid. So anything that was inspired by Ghostbusters, I was drinking it or I was eating it. So this was a super big favorite of mine. I know that they did re-release this back in 2016, I believe, when they came out with a remake of Ghostbusters. I try to just wash that whole thought out of my brain because that was a terrible movie. I don't know who or why they even decided that was going to be a good remake, but it was bad. Hopefully, maybe one day they can come out with a proper remake with some of the original characters and such. But let's move into like the third one that I want to talk about here. And this is one that maybe is not on anybody else's list. This is one that I loved a lot. And this was Snapple's Elements. So this was back when Snapple was in glass bottles still. They had this lineup that was called Elements, which was kind of a play on the flavors. They had Earth, which was a grape cranberry flavor. They had Rain, which was a agave cactus flavor. You had Fire, which was a dragon fruit flavor. And you also had Sun, which was a star fruit orange flavor. And these were all naturally flavored products, which is a little bit different than a lot of the things that are on my list because I did not necessarily care much about natural flavors or natural anything. I was just consuming junk food for the most part. But these were a favorite of mine. I consumed these by the cases. My favorite flavor out of these was Earth. And then I also liked Rain as well. And I know they came out with a bunch of other element flavors and names later on, but these are the originals. These are the ones in which I remember consuming a ton of. Let's move into the fourth one I want to talk about. And this is another kind of fruit flavored item, but we're going to be moving on to the food side of things. And this is Shark Bites. Now, this is a product that I know I'm going to get some crap over because it is still in existence, but it is nowhere near what it used to be. They're now, I think, like naturally flavored and colored, and they have different tastes and all kinds of stuff. It's not the artificially everything fruit snacks that we grew up with in the 90s. And if you kind of think about things, Millennials, my age kind of generation, had really kind of brought this like Shark Week love from the Discovery Channel. It's this big kind of thing that they always have. I personally have never really understood Shark Week. It's not my thing, but I can understand, or maybe there's some point that is drawn back to the love of these Shark Bites. Maybe this was the cause. Now people want nostalgia. They were bringing it back to Shark Bites in their lunch boxes as a kid during elementary school or middle school. And now the Discovery Channel has gotten lucky enough to profit off of the love of sharks. If you guys remember these fruit snacks, there was these white, opaque, white great white shark pieces that were a big time pull when you would break open your pack of fruit snacks and you didn't have one of those white opaque great white sharks. It was a disappointment for sure. Now let's bounce back to a beverage, and a citrus-based beverage that I know that I consumed by the gallon, and this is Serge. So Serge was another citrus-based soda. This time it was packed with a bunch of sugar, but it also had a little bit more caffeine than a normal soda. I think it had 51 milligrams of caffeine for a 12-ounce serving. So it's not obviously an energy drink in the traditional sense, but as I think 12 years old when this came out, that provided a ton of energy for me. Obviously already energetic as a 12-year-old boy, but more energetic when I would slug down a 2-liter of Serge. And to bring this kind of to a story about middle school time, my school had kind of a yearly class trip. We had went on a trip during the time when Serge kind of got super popular, and they actually banned us from bringing a Serge because they were scared about how hyper we would be. And we had to go to the extent of like actually hiding them in our baggage because they were going to like kind of check through it, but they didn't check very good. And we ended up sneaking some stuff, and we caused a ruckus like no other middle schoolers could cause, which was, looking in back in hindsight, just juvenile and was not very much trouble at all. But we thought we were pretty badass during that time when we were drinking our Serge. But I also know that Serge did come back. I got an additional taste of it when it did come out. It reminded me of just like a little bit different of a taste than Mountain Dew, but I still enjoyed it as an adult, but I didn't enjoy the sugar content on it. I do drink a lot of energy drinks, but I drink the sugar-free ones, which, you know, that's a toss-up on which is actually better or worse for you, but that's another video for another day. In the tradition of this video, let me bounce back to the food items and specifically around my love of ice cream. And this was an item, a novelty item that was awesome. And what I'm talking about here is the WWF, which is now known as WWE, but back in the day it was WWF. And they had an ice cream bar, and for me, and living in Northeast Ohio, the only way you could get this ice cream bar was from the ice cream truck. So during the summer, when you hear that kind of awesome music coming down the street, you knew the ice cream truck was coming. If you were lucky enough to be outside or close enough to a window where you could run out and catch them and hopefully have a little money in your pocket, or your parents close enough, you were the luckiest person ever. And I was always buying these WWF ice cream bars. And for those that maybe don't know anything about these ice cream bars, they were a layer of chocolate, like a thin layer of chocolate on the backside. It was kind of vanilla ice cream. And then there was a kind of a shortbread cookie front that also had a printing of a WWF superstar on there. And this was a treat because you never knew which WWF superstar you were going to have. So if you had your favorites, which any kid growing up is usually into wrestling in some level, and during this time this was like a huge time for wrestling. I was super excited when I got one of these favorites. When I didn't, I was a little bit disappointed. I probably ate the ice cream bar a lot quicker because I just wanted to get the experience over a little bit quicker. So staying with food this time, but going into a savory snack, we're going to be talking about cheese balls. So cheese balls, I think, have come back. I believe Planters had decided that they were going to bring back these neon orange cheddar crunchy snacks. I have not bought them since I was a child. Honestly, the amount of tins that I ate and my family ate of these cheese balls was probably alarming at the time. And if you haven't noticed, and it's totally okay, I'm going to call myself out on this, and this is to say that I probably had borderline white trash like taste buds as a kid, and maybe I still do today. It is what it is. But I used to love these like neon orange cheddar, like crunchy cheese snacks to the point where they would stain your hands, but it was well worth it, and an experience that obviously I still remember today. Now, sticking with Planters overall, but moving to like a sweet snack, not a savory one, we're going to be talking here about Planters PB Crisps. So I don't know if maybe I was a kid and I enjoyed how cool and dapper Mr. Peanut was. Maybe he was my Mickey Mouse in some sense, but he brought me nice treats to eat. I, for whatever reason, enjoyed and still want to bring back some discontinued Planters items, but this was another kind of simplistic snack. You had like a graham cookie shaped peanut that was filled with a peanut butter cream in the middle, but To me, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So this is the epitome of Mr. Peanut. So if Planters is going to think about nostalgia and bring back cheese balls, I think we need to bring back PB Crisps. Now to jump back towards beverages, I think now we're on the 9th one of my list of 10. We're going to be talking about another beverage from the Coca-Cola company, and this is Fruitopia. So growing up, my dad, he owned a repair shop. He was a mechanic. That repair shop also had a gas station component to it and also a convenience store. So this was my first job. You guys might have heard this story before on my channel. But as a kid, and Fruitopia's being out during, I believe, much younger than an age I could work, officially, but working under the table, the first thing that I would go into the convenience store was to grab one of these Fruitopias. And my favorite flavor was, I believe, the best seller out of them all, at least from what I can remember. And this one was called Strawberry Passion Awareness. And when I was looking up some pieces of information on Fruitopia, because I was like, does this still exist? It wasn't all that bad. I mean, I think it was full of a bunch of sugar and maybe artificial flavors and such. But I think that Minute Maid, I think they do still have a few of the flavors that now have different names and things. But if they don't have the names, they don't have the cool packaging and everything like that, it's just not going to give me the same feeling. So I haven't pulled the trigger and went out and bought any of those yet. Now, the last one that I want to talk about here is Flintstones Pushups. And this is another kind of novelty item, a sherbet-based ice cream, frozen sherbet-based novelty product. And the Flintstones was another kind of cartoon series that was big in my childhood. I used the Flintstones as my nutritional vitamin supplier for many years, and then they also provided me some great frozen sherbet snacks. I remember my younger sister, and I fighting for like the last ones available in the freezer. There was, I think, a variety pack, which we used to always get, and there was an orange one, a berry one, and a lime one. The lime one I just did not like, even though I do enjoy a lot of like citrus flavors. For whatever reason, lime is not my thing for sherbet. But they had some really cool names. I think the orange was Yabba Dabba Doo Orange. I think the berry was Bedrock Berry. So these were flavors that just resembled some of the things that were happening in the Flintstones, or just kind of brought you back to the Flintstones cartoon. I feel bad for kids that are not going to be able to experience this. I'm sure that there's some similar product out there, but without the Flintstones and the cool names, it's just not the same. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a ton different of a style than I normally do. I could have easily done a technical deep dive on the nostalgia economy, how important nostalgia is with selling all kinds of consumer-based products. But if you think about actions and you think about me literally making a video that is close to 15 to 20 minutes long at this point about childhood, nostalgic, discontinued food and beverage items, that should tell you in itself how powerful the nostalgia economy is. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.